I'm
Danielle's
good.
everything.
How are you?
Good. Could you hear me?
I can hear you. It's so nice to hear your voice.
It's so nice to hear your voice. It's been a long time.
Really been a long time. I'm so excited because we have a lot of people joining. A lot of people want to hear and get inspired about food and loving food and positive energy in food. So I'm so excited that we could do this collaboration today. Thank you.
Again, thank you for having me. I'm really excited about it because, like, I so enjoyed working with you. You and I worked together for quite a long time, doing lots of events. And, you know, it was always at the end, we were like, it's going to work out. It's going to be amazing. And we
so
always
much stress.
I know, we always put so much love into the food. And we always, like, thought of every little thing, whether how the plates were going to look on the table, whether there was going to be too many people, you know, just trying to make everything perfect.
Each individual, I mean, you made the food beautiful also, but I remember like all those last minute details to make sure the plates looked like art.
That was my OCD.
Yeah, I love it. What do you have in Virgo? What is your sign, by the way? I'm just curious.
I'm a Sagittarius.
Oh, I remember that.
I'm December 1st. And I just remember like you coming in and like the kitchen help and the volunteers were like trying to do every platter the exact way. So all the platters for each table look beautiful. And this way, everything on the table was set up the way it was supposed to set up. It was an amazing experience.
It was really fun. It was really fun. So basically, yeah, now everybody knows how we kind of met. And just to do a reintroduction, I'm Debbie Sugarbaker, and you can follow me at Debbie Sugarbee. I basically interview individuals, thought leaders, spiritual leaders, different people who I'm really connected with, different souls who are here, I believe, to like elevate things, whatever they do. You know, like Camillo is, in my mind, you are an artist. You know, you are someone who's really channeling and bringing beauty into this world. And I believe that you do it with a lot of consciousness and with a lot of love. So that's why I'm so excited.
Thank you so much. I mean, that's such an amazing thing to say, because I feel like, you know, with lots of chefs, we're always stuck in the kitchen. We're always working under stressful situations. Mm-hmm. But I usually tune all that out and say, like, how would I cook for my family? How would I feed these 800 people or these 1,000 people or these 300 people? How would I want to feed them and actually give them, because I feel like food is energy and food is love. So how would I actually want to put positive energy into food? Because if you're unhappy while you're cooking, I don't care what ingredients you use, I don't think it's going to come out the most tastiest, the most delicious, you know, dish that you made. But if you put like positive energy, if you put love into the food and you're actually breaking bread with all the people that you're cooking for, I believe that's like the most energy I ever could get anywhere.
It's so true. Like, food is so sensitive, and we know, like, people say you are what you eat. So we know obviously making good choices in food is important, but the energy that one has while preparing it is perhaps equally, and the one consuming it. I had a conversation with Robin from At Power Food Education.
She's actually, I love her. She's one of my closest friends.
I love her too. So we had this fantastic interview, and we were talking about how it's the consciousness of the person making the food, which is what we're talking about, but also while you eat it. Like, how are you consuming? Are you consuming kind of like mindlessly, just trying to fill my stomach, or, you know, what's my approach to the food? So I think it goes both ways. You know, you obviously are the one preparing, and you're preparing it with love as if you were feeding your own family, but it goes both ways. It's just, food is like this powerful conduit of energy. So
yeah, and I feel like also, like, people don't realize, like, food is such a big part of our lives. Like, everything revolves around the kitchen. I know my family growing up, like, everything revolved around the kitchen. Like, you know, we had a large kitchen, and my mother would make everything from scratch. She had no kitchen equipment. You know, she didn't have a KitchenAid. She didn't have a mixer. She didn't have a blender. You know, everything was made with a wooden spoon, a wooden paddle, a whisk. Everything was deep fried and coated in sugar, which was good. You know, in other ways, food could be loved, but food also could be, if you consume so much of it, you know, it's like, you know, there has to be a balance with it.
Right. Definitely has to be a balance for sure. So I wanted to just quickly go in because some people may have heard of you, or since I mentioned that you were on one of my favorite shows, which is Chopped. I've literally seen a lot of, when I heard you were going on, I was so excited because me and my dog Harry, he loves it too. It's one of our favorite shows, as is like, you know, I also love like Bobby Flay, like all those Food Network shows. So I was so excited when I saw you on there. But what has your story been? I mean, how did you, what made you decide to become a chef, and how did you get more involved in, you know, being out there?
Well, I was always cooking since I was like 12 years old. My uncle owned a bagel shop, 3 restaurants, and a comedy club in Brooklyn. So I was always in food, and I always grew up in the kitchen with my mom, whether it be rolling meatballs and frying them. As she would fry them and put them on the paper bag to drain, I would eat them. So hence making up like 30, 40 meatballs, there was only like 10 left after I was done with them.
Oh my God.
So, you know, everything revolved around the kitchen. So I always had a love for food. And then I wanted to go into cooking and really, you know, take my passion to the next level and follow an education in culinary arts, which I'm classically trained. I went to New York Restaurant School in New York. Now it's part of the ICE Academy. But after that, I decided to go overseas to Italy and study in different parts of Italy. Like I studied in Venice and Milan, Rome, Capri, and I learned how to make a proper risotto, proper tiramisu. So all this is
God, it sounds
it's not, hence I was like 300 pounds, you know.
Oh,
but
wow.
Yeah,
so you had a whole journey as well.
Well, I did have a whole journey, and I don't want to be, as they said, you know, a downer, but my family suffered from really bad heart disease, and my father had diabetes, and part of growing up, when I was like in like 8 or 9, my father had both his legs amputated, because in those days they didn't have the proper, you know, medication, the proper tools. So
some people still do get it. It's called diabetic foot, PAD.
Yes. It's like getting like infections, like cuts, and you know, it's just amputated because you get a really bad infection. My father loved food.
I'm so sorry, by the way. I'm so sorry.
No, I mean, it brought me to a journey of cooking healthier.
Right.
So, and really wanting to not only eat healthier, but also be knowledgeable about food. So after that, I ended up working in a lot of hotels in New York City. But then I ended up working as a private chef for someone. And the family brought me into a meeting, said, "Oh, we're going to be vegan next week." I'm like, "Huh?" I'm like, "What?" And this is pre-internet. So I rushed over to Barnes and Nobles and sat down on the floor and looked through any kind of plant-based cookbook and really tried to learn the flavors of, okay, I know what it is, the flavor of a proper lasagna. I know a flavor of a proper Milanese. I know a flavor of a proper Bolognese. What can I put in plant-based terms into that to make it taste good? So I really worked tirelessly to really learn, how to cook plant-based. And in those days, it was kind of vegan. It was like the granola, people were scared of eating because it was but I always tried to elevate it. Like I would cut fruit and make a fruit sorbet sauce. I cut fruit into doves and put it on a platter and have raspberry sauce dripping from it. I would make a lasagna out of lentils and diced veg, and then I puree it in a food processor. I'd make my own sauces. And I really like wanted to elevate the family I was working for and really, you know, do my best. And I really got so into it that, you know, that's all I wanted to do. I was like, I want to make a proper tiramisu, but I want to make it plant-based. Like, how can I change the flavor?
And less sugar. Do you do like less sugar and
I
healthy
do.
in general?
I don't do any refined sugar. I use maple syrup, agave. I try to do things that are gluten-free, as you know, and I try to do things that are organic and kosher and don't have artificial flavors or colorings. If I want to dye something like a red velvet cake, which I'm actually making a wedding cake for my friend tomorrow, I'll show you. I have dyes.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm actually making that
see.
Tomorrow for my friend. They're getting married, and I'm doing a wedding cake for them. So I try to use like.
So instead of red 40, you're probably using something else?
I'm using beet dye.
Amazing.
Beet dye. I'm using chlorophyll.
Mm-hmm.
I'm using raspberry dye. I'm also using turmeric dye. And just so you guys know, if you ever want to get a natural dye, it's called India Tree. If you go on their website, they have the most amazing decorative, anything you like to use to decorate cakes and pastries. All their items are natural, and it's amazing. But I just wanted to make, you know, be somebody that actually wanted to cook, but cook in a manner where everybody could enjoy it, no matter religious, health, nutritional, or whether you're, you know, allergic to anything. You know, I try to make it where everybody doesn't feel like they're being deprived.
I love that. And it's beautiful because you also, like, you know, since you are in the health food realm and you're seeking to make people not feel deprived, I mean, that's a beautiful desire to come together, because some people, you know, they feel like, oh, if I'm going to be, I mean, I personally I've been vegetarian for most of my life. But, you know, I know it's not for everybody, vegan, vegetarian, it's not for everybody. But it's nice to be able to eat something that's nutritious, that's healthy, that tastes, your food tastes so good, and you don't feel deprived. You know,
and I feel too, I'm never judgmental. Like, I'm not one of the people that push veganism or push plant-based. I specialize in plant-based, but I know how to cook everything. I'm classically trained. Right. So I know how to cook keto. I know how to cook paleo. I know how to cook gluten-free. You know, I've done things for many people that, you know, they might not want this, but they want that because they're on a specialty, you know, a special diet, a special health diet, or whether they have Crohn's disease. At the center, which I cooked for a few people, few of the teachers that had issues, and you have to make things with certain ingredients, elevate them and make them taste good. So exactly. I feel like there's no judgment. I feel like if everybody could take 1 or 2 or 3 meals a week, whether it's Meatless Monday, and try to eat more plant-based, I think people would be surprisingly like astonished on how they would feel little by little.
Yeah, you do. I mean, everybody might, just to give it a try is a good idea. I mean, I don't want to push any kind of diet on anyone.
No, I never want to, because
it's interesting. Last night I ate such a good vegan meal, and you wake up and, I mean, I ate a little bit later than I usually would like to, but yeah, you definitely, when you really get some good vegetables in you, you really like feel lighter. Like
it feels like everything's moving. I hate to say it that way, but
it was like delicious too. It was like a kung pao cauliflower.
Oh, that's awesome.
And an artichoke crab cake. It was like really interesting stuff. It was an interesting menu.
And now you have so many choices in plant-based. Yeah. A lot of them are kosher. A lot of them are gluten-free. A lot of them don't use any refined sugar. So you have like so many options. It's not like 30 years ago or 20 years ago where everything was tofu.
Well, vital wheat gluten, right?
Yeah, and it's like that too much of a process. like eating processed food. I don't feel it's healthy in that way. I try to use things that are like, like quinoa and like, lentils. I try not to use lots of imitation meat, or only if I'm doing a specific dish, and it would probably be one in a 5-course, menu. I would try to fill in with lots of veg because you have to kind of balance it out.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I agree with you on that. Definitely important not to overdo it on the fake meats.
Yeah, because a lot of them are processed.
And they have, I don't know, the soy or whatever, but I'm not sure all the details enough to share it, and put it out
A
there.
lot of them are very, very good, though. A lot of them have really turned into whether they use like a beet puree or a pea protein,
Right.
and they make the
Good to always
color.
look at the package, right? Because like
Yes,
some of
look
them
at
you'll
the.
see it's like, oh, definitely something you don't want to consume if you can't even read it. But if
No,
it's
and if it's
wow,
like
some of them have
really,
like
if it,
eggplant, mushroom, yeah.
yeah, then it's like if you read the ingredients and it says beet protein, pea protein, coconut oil, and it has like puree of kale or whatever, like but if it has all these things you can't pronounce, then I would try to stay away from
Yeah.
it.
So I wanted to ask you just a few more questions.
Sure.
So a lot of people, are interested in when you're cooking, what is your secret? Because your food just tastes good. And I know you said it's like you're cooking for someone that you love, or, do you have any secret?
Yes, I have the most important thing my mother ever told me is no matter what ingredients you have, if you don't put love into it, it's not going to come out good. And I feel like I try to take flavors and try to keep them in the same profile. Like if you're doing a Mediterranean dinner, then keep all the flavors Mediterranean. Don't mix and match with sauces, with spices. If you're doing a Mexican dinner, for example, I'll give you an Italian dinner, which is something that I really love to make. If you're making an Italian dinner and you want to make a beautiful caprese salad with mixed greens, and you could get really great cashew buffalo mozzarella cheese, and you could get beautiful heirloom tomatoes. All you have to do is buy balsamic glaze, basil, heirloom tomatoes, and the plant-based cashew mozzarella, and a few mixed greens, and you have, you slice everything up and you fan it out. You put it over greens. That'll be your first course, which would be your salad. Then a second course, you could do a beautiful pasta, cacio e pepe pasta, where instead of using cream, you could use nutritional yeast with a plant-based milk, which you could use a healthier cashew milk. And the nutritional yeast will give it that cheesy flavor. And you could even use gluten-free spaghetti, and that'll be your pasta course. And what I would do also is if you're having people over and you want to have, like, whether it be like a braised vegetable or a braised mushroom dish that you want to do something meaty, something that you're really into, I would also keep that in the Italian family and like with the flavors. So everything that you're eating, you just have like one thing follows the other. Nothing is too heavy. You want to go from light and move, upward. You don't want to like, you don't want to go like heavy. Like you have that beautiful mozzarella caprese salad. You have a little bit of that pasta. You can even do, if you want, a little bit of the gluten-free pasta with a ton of like fancy mushrooms that you roast with shallots and with lots of garlic, and then put a hint of truffle oil. Like that just blows everybody. Like
Yeah.
it's like
usually
the
usually the truffle oil just makes it.
Well, you have to put a dot. If you put and you overwhelm it, it tastes very, very woodsy, and you don't want that.
Yeah.
But I would say my biggest tip is keep everything simple,
Mm-hmm.
and do one flavor profile, one dish, one flavor profile, whether it be Mediterranean, Greek, Asian, Italian. Just keep it in that realm. Don't make fried rice or risotto and then serve an Indian cauliflower. Like, and like make everything that the flavors meld. You don't want anything,
You want to
you
give
just,
people like a nice experience.
yeah, you want them to like be like, oh, Italian night, Mexican night,
Right.
Mediterranean, Greek night, that you could do beautiful roasted cauliflower, lemon rice,
Right.
um, kebabs,
Right.
couscous. It's. I just say keep everything simple.
I love that. And I love what you said about your mother's tip about putting love into every ingredient, because also it's something that I do with when I'm drinking, like when I'm drinking stuff, because basically what I've like drinking water or drinking especially water, because if you ever saw that movie, it came out, I'm taking it a little deep here, but like it's called Hidden Messages in Water. It was a Japanese scientist, Masaru Emoto, and he
What is
actually
it
spoke
called? I
about
wanna make sure I write it down.
Hidden Messages in Water. And he was like a Japanese scientist, and actually he spoke once at the Kabbalah Centre in New York. And his whole thing was when the consciousness and the energy that you put towards like water crystals, he actually showed that it affects the crystals. So our consciousness and our energy is like that powerful that we can affect water crystals. Like if you say like or your words, like he wrote like I hate you and like words of hatred on there, and he saw that, the crystals went one way, and then he put, I love you, I care for you, all of these like beautiful words and also beautiful music, and the crystals formed different. So since our bodies are 70% water, I always think of kind of like the reason why, it affects it. And the same with food is you're putting your energy and your consciousness into that, and it actually can create an effect. Our energy is so powerful.
I believe that's so true, because one thing I learned working with you, also, and working with lots of other people, is that you can't control somebody else's feelings. You could only control how you react to something.
Right.
And I always take in my head and always think, well, how can I make this better? How can I be proactive instead of reactive? Like if you're doing an event and a sauce breaks or something is not right, or, a warmer doesn't work, go inside, take a deep breath, because I feel like a lot of chefs just yell and scream and curse. And believe me,
it's a high stress job.
Yeah, I want to do that sometimes, but I say, let me calm down and say, how can I actually be proactive and make sure this doesn't break, or this doesn't turn sour, or the warmers work, or we have enough platters, or do we have enough garnish, or is Mike on break? Will he come back? Is John going to be enough? Or do we have enough waiters and waitresses? Like, I feel like if you just show a form of like nurturing and try to make everybody calm and have fun.
Yeah. It also makes the event and the food better, right?
I feel like with all things that I've changed, I've served stuff cold and it was excellent when it should have been hot. I've turned a salad into a wilted salad, claiming that it's supposed to be wilted, but it's certain things that you do and you put out that confidence, and
really mind over matter, energy over matter. Yeah.
And you could actually fix anything if you take the time to like really, really think about how you can make this better and why you want to make it better.
And if something goes wrong, then you kind of like use it. That's actually something that, I mean, I've been in a few kitchens I'm not a chef or anything like that, but I've worked with a few chefs and also in the restaurant industry. And usually if there's like a mistake or anything, you always try to quickly turn it as soon as possible into an opportunity. It's kind of like what you're talking about.
Forget about like wilted arugula with a protein, with heirloom tomatoes and olives and artichokes.
Sounds amazing.
it's going to be great.
Yeah. It's delicious. I love that. I love that, Camillo. So one last question, because I know that a lot of, again, I'm not a chef, but I don't know if you've ever heard of the show Chef's Table. I watched every episode.
Yes, yes.
I love the stories of the chefs.
Yes.
And you kind of really get the feeling about, how it's like really creation and art every day. Like you're practicing this beautiful craft that people really feel, and enjoy through eating. It's like such a first of all, it's a great show. But I was wondering, there's a lot of stress and in being a chef, and also you need to stay creative. So how do you stay motivated? How do you stay creative? Do you have any tips?
Okay, I feel like the most important thing is for you to never stop learning.
Right.
To never want to stop learning. Like I have in my living room a stack this big of cooking magazines, whether it's raw foods, whether it's vegan, gluten-free, Israeli cooking, Mediterranean, Italian. A few years ago in my 50s, I took a raw foods extensive course with Matthew Kenny. Like never stop learning. I feel like when people stop learning and you feel that you're not being challenged, right. And I feel like you're not elevating yourself. Like the more you know, I feel like knowledge is power.
Right. So
and
keep learning. Knowledge
also is cash.
Right.
Because as a chef, the more you know, the more in demand you are, and the more you sustain, no matter whether a pandemic or not, right. The more you'll still be able to, whether it be recipe development, social media, creating recipes for large companies, food styling. Like you have to want to turn something that is not the best situation and see how you can work in it and make that situation work for you.
I love it. Yeah, because do you find that you're like it's easy for you to stay creative, or
I
the
find
constant
that
challenge is for a Sag?
I feel like I always stay creative because I try to cook for family and friends, and during the pandemic, I to keep my mind sane, I will cook all these recipes because I'm trying to work on a cookbook, and I have about 200 recipes, and I have beautiful photos that I've styled, and I'm trying to get a publisher. So I'm sending out lots of like proposals to publishers and everything, and I to be in a mindset and not feel depressed about what has happened to the hospitality industry in the past 14 months. I woke up every day and said, I will cook something new and package it up and bring it to all my neighbors in the building.
Aww. Wow, you got lucky neighbors. Where do you live?
I live in Harlem, and I would put like everything in Ziplocs, wipe it down with like all those Sanit wipes, put plastic wrap and knock on doors and just put like bags on doors, and my neighbors would like send me notes underneath the underneath the door saying that was the best red velvet cake, or that was the best rose water pistachio cake. And I have a lot of elderly.
Amazing.
Well, to be honest with you, I couldn't eat it myself because I would be putting on the COVID-19, So I tried to cook it, taste it, write the recipe, photo shoot it, and like cut it up, and everybody would get a slice.
Oh my God, that's so nice. I love it. You got lucky neighbors. They didn't know what they were in for. That's beautiful. Well, Camillo, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you feel to share? First of all, how was your experience on Chops? Maybe you can just quickly say
I really am always shy about talking because I thought I was going on the show. They actually recruited me through my Instagram page, and I had to go on 7 interviews and cook for the producers. It was an 8-month-long period where I would have to cook and make video shoots and cook and then go for a video shoot. So finally I was on, and I thought it was one camera. It was like 50 cameras all up in your face. And literally I should have wore a diaper because I was so nervous. Excuse my language. Because I thought I was going in with one camera and, you know, it was going to be all cool and like I was going to cook what I wanted, but you're actually being followed by so many cameras. And
yeah, I can see that, how they actually shoot it was well.
It was the most amazing experience, and I hope that I would be able to go on again, because I'm actually in talks with a few other shows.
Oh, nice.
So hopefully, fingers crossed, when they start shooting again, hopefully I'll be a part of it. And I always put energy out there.
I think that they would be so lucky to have you on there, sharing from your beautiful love and energy. I'm serious.
Thank you so much, Debbie.
It's good if you're out there and, you know, people can feel it from you, because I enjoy and appreciate your energy so much.
Thank you. And I so enjoyed working with you and like planning everything with you, because you had such a beautiful like spirit, and you always had like such a positive thought about everything. Whether it be like, oh, we don't have enough platters, you'd be like, you know what? If some tables, instead of doing that, let's do 2 plates instead of 1. Oh, well, if some tables, and you would always turn it around and be like, Camillo, it's going to look good no matter what. You know, so I just want to thank you. And I also want to say it's been a long time, and I just want to say that, you know, I love all your feeds and, you know, everything that you share with everyone. I feel that, like, you know, with everything going around, we need a lot more positivity. Exactly. And a lot more light instead of darkness. Because I feel like if you just put out good energy, you could only receive and help people with it.
That's so true, and I love it. Thank you so much for saying
Thank you so much, and thanks everybody for joining. I mean, it's such a pleasure, and you can follow me at Chef Camillo Sabella.
Yeah, follow him at Chef Camillo Sabella. Stay tuned for the book. And one quick thing, someone said, haven't changed a bit, Camilla. Still some of the best donuts I ever had. Much love.
Oh my God, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you again.
Thank
I really appreciate for having me. Thank you.
Same. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for joining.
Lots of love.